This isn't gonna just blow over. The Zerg won't stop until we're all dead.
Vengeance shall be mine.
The 7 evils are one within me. I am Legion.
Stay a while and listen.
To ask why we fight is to ask why leaves fall.
You are not prepared.
Warcraft players, where you at? Starcraft players, where you at? Diablo players, where you at?
What's it like to spend a day with the Hearthstone development team? Let's find out. Welcome to BlizzPro's Twizzcast.
Disturbing hallucination. You're hearing voices.
Welcome to a very special episode of Twizzcast, ladies and gentlemen. This week is going to be a bit different than our normal show. Reb and Hoda are not with me, obviously, because as we record this, they are partaking in their 4th of July events. So I have brought some different people onto the show, and they have some pretty exciting tales to tell. The person I have with me, first off, is no stranger to the show at all. Please help me welcome back to the show Mr. BlizzPro himself, J.R. Cook. Hello, sir.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very good. We finally got this up and rolling. Oh my god. So, the other person that I have on the line is the man who is the spit, gum, and glue of HearthstonePlayers.com. Please help me welcome to the show, Liam. Hello, sir.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, man. It's very good to have you on the show. Appreciate you taking the time to come out here.
Yep, you're welcome.
So, just a friendly reminder, everybody, you can get your Twizzcast fix from iTunes. Hit that thumbs up button if you're listening to us on Stitcher Radio, or you can subscribe to the RSS feed on Twizzcast.com, which I would like to say is being revamped right now, and it will be available like within a day or so. So get ready for the new look of Twizzcast.com. I'm very excited about it. It's pretty, it's sexy, so... But, so I bet you're wondering why these guys are here, and I will just go ahead and bring you up to speed real quick. Last week, Blizzard Entertainment was kind enough to fly these guys and some other people who are affiliated with major fan sites like Wowhead, MMO Champion, and others to their campus to meet the developers and talk about what's coming up in the games that we know and love. Now, the Hearthstone team picked BlizzPro and HearthstonePlayers.com and some other people to come in and have a sit-down with the Hearthstone developers so they could reveal what's coming to all the gamers out there. But before we get into it, let's take a real quick second and back up and talk to Liam. And let's find out a little bit, man, tell us about your website. Tell us about your background in gaming. You know, what brought you to this point?
Alrighty, well basically, we'll start with a brief overview of my background in gaming. I've been playing MMORPGs for, I guess, most of my life. I played a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day, and I still play it occasionally now. I also played the old school grinding games that back when we had to grind uphill and downhill in the snow barefoot.
Both ways, yep.
But yeah, basically, as far as the site goes, that was actually fairly recent because the game was only announced fairly recently. Okay. Shortly after PAX, I mean, I've been looking for an online trading card game for the longest time, and I'm like, wow, this is it. So yeah, I dove in and made a fan site. At first, we tried going with forums and a database, but everyone else was doing that anyway. So what we decided to go with was something that's more in-depth, more thought out, and it was just basically a content site that provides articles for people to read. And
okay.
I get a lot of feedback, not a whole lot of comments, but that's all good because I know lots of people are reading the content. So and that's basically kind of how it evolved. It started as hearthstonepedia.org, and then we just kind of iterated through until we refined what kind of site we wanted to end up doing, and then we arrived at hearthstoneplayers.com. So
okay, and how many people are with you, or is it just you, or?
It's a very small team at the moment. It's just myself, another guy called Jimmy. He's been doing a lot of the financial backing, running the server. I do the technical side of things, and he does a lot of the graphics. But I've been doing a lot of the articles here recently, and I have one new writer that I recruited recently, and he's doing a great job. His name is Jim. So we've got a Jimmy, a Jim, and myself,
and
Liam.
a James.
So it's a very small team, but we're looking to expand, hopefully. So
Very cool.
But you're only getting people called Jim, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we only recruit people called Jim, aside from myself, of course. So,
if it's not
if your name's Jim or Jimmy or
James,
by all means, shoot me an email and we'll get you in.
or Butch. For some reason, I heard you guys were accepting Butch. So, I mean, whatever. So I'm kidding.
That's a distant consideration, but yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, dude, we're really very excited to have you on the show. Appreciate you taking time out of your 4th of July to sit down here and record this. So, well, let's just let's jump right into the trip, guys. How was it, and what was it all about? What was it like? Take me through your experience.
Well, I personally wasn't really sure what to expect this time around. I mean, I've been on Blizzard campus before, and in the past it's been something that is usually very planned out ahead of time, and we kind of know ahead of time. This seemed pretty rushed, and I think what they were doing was it was more of a fan site thing, obviously, for to kind of the community team to get a feel of what they can do to help fan sites and get our input on what they can do to, help fan sites. And I think the Hearthstone thing was kind of secondary. But it was very cool the way they did it this time, because in the past, the way they've done it is they get all of the fan sites for all of the games and they put them in one room. So you might have like 20 fan sites in there. And then, so your voice may not get heard as much as a smaller team. So this time what they did was they did 5 sites per game, and then that was our group. So it was very cool to be able to give that input to Blizzard, and very cool to be able to talk to the developers with just the 5 of us in there, and being able, what it lasted like an hour and a half, the Q&A that we did. So that was, and they wanted our feedback on the game, and we got to ask a lot of questions. We got to play the game for 2 hours. Love the game, absolutely. So that was kind of what happened. Liam, I know that you actually hadn't been there before, so I'm kind of curious on your take of that.
Yeah, my take of it, it really caught me off guard. I was like, I got this email from Zaria, and I was like, okay. I checked it out, and it said, we're having a fan site mixer. We're inviting people on campus. We're going to fly you out. We're going to pay for your hotel. I'm like, is this for real? I definitely did a double take. I'm like, I was not expecting it at all.
All we need is your account information and password. That's all we need.
Yeah, my first time on Blizzard campus, it was amazing. Like the night before, I went to Dave & Buster's and I met up with Law from TankSpot. Wanted to meet that guy for so long, watched all his videos over the years, and I actually saw the guy in person, and I met several people the night before even. And then came the main event, I guess, and I was on Blizzard campus. I was talking with, Zaria, the PR people, and like JR said, we had some pretty intimate one-on-one discussions with the devs, and that was just really mind-blowing to me, because it's the first time I've ever done anything like that before. And it was amazing. So.
That was the first time I've ever done anything like that before. Right. I've had interviews before, but to go in and get our input on the game itself and have the lead designers there taking our input as, this is what, we've been thinking about this too, or stuff like that. That was, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was really, and then we had the hands-on time of Hearthstone. It was just so much packed into these 2 days. It was definitely, and it really increased the level of excitement. I think that was intentional. I think that was definitely part of the plan as well, was to get all these fan sites, to get them on Blizzard campus, for Blizzard to let us know that they really want to, they want some commitment towards their fan sites, and they really want us to help push the game, and they want to help us help them in any way they can, and that's amazing. It's something that, I don't think many game developers really do a whole lot of. They don't reach out to people that want to promote their game, that are excited this early on. The game's not in beta yet, and,
right.
And we're being, they're helping us in any way they can, and
Yeah.
and I think it's awesome that they did that. So.
It does. It speaks volumes, I don't want to sound like a fanboy, but I mean, honestly, what other video game company is saying, how can we help you help us, and that it speaks volumes, it speaks volumes, and it really makes you feel like you want to play the game because it's like I play a hand in this, Even the guy that sits down at his computer that is playing this, I mean, like, he has a voice to these people, and he's heard, and that's just you don't find that anywhere. So
yeah, and it helps us out too, because I mean, this is running a fan site is something of a passion. You are not going to make money running a fan site. You do not do it for the money. You do it because you enjoy doing it. So to have a chance to go out there and be a part of something like that, it kind of refuels your energy on doing this. Because, I mean, there have been so many times I've gotten burned out with something, and I'm like, well, the next couple of weeks I really don't want to do anything with the fan site. But then we get to go to things like this, and then it's like, man, I'm just
refuels the fire.
Well, yeah, I just want to just continue going forward and just full steam ahead.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, yeah. So like, and Liam, I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, man, because it's like,
go ahead,
because I'm trying to imagine what would I, in my shoes, what would I, so you show up, at Blizzard like right off the bat, first thing in the morning, whatever time they told you to be there. What happens? What happens? What for you?
Basically, we check in, we get through security, we're in their like lobby area. While we're in the lobby area, they have like a little mini museum thing. Shows at the moment it was showing StarCraft memorabilia and stuff. And then of course you got the employees coming in to work through that same building, and some of them have like pets and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have a very laid back pet policy. Like, you really get to see a little bit of the personality immediately. You get to see a bit of the personality of the company, which is definitely like, it's huge, from the get go.
Huh. Okay. So all right, so you get through security or whatever, and then they sat you guys down, and you got to play Hearthstone.
Yep.
For what they have right now. I mean, it's not the finished game, obviously, but right. You got to test it out for what, like 2 hours or something like that?
I think it was even a little over 2 hours, but yeah, I mean, we definitely got significant amount of time to test the game out, and we weren't sitting there, doing hardcore, match after match after match. It wasn't that, but we definitely got a very firm grasp of the actual game and how it works, and and some of the depth of the game that you don't notice when you're just watching videos on it,
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you. Actually, some of the people in the Shifty Warlock in the chat room is asking, how polished did the game feel? What was you guys' gameplay experience like?
It did feel a bit polished to me. Yeah, I mean.
Oh, definitely. Like, I feel like the game is very close to beta release, and beyond that, very close to release date. The game itself, like, playing it was ready to go. I think the only thing holding back the beta is they're still trying to figure out what to do with the Forge. They're still trying to figure out what to do exactly with the gold currency, and they probably need to test the desktop client for Battle.net a little bit more.
Okay.
And I think those are the only three things holding it back from beta right now.
And seeing a lot of the polish that needs to be done on the game is stuff that would typically be done during beta anyway. Like for example, one thing I noticed, they just added a friend list in to see your Battle.net friends, and there's no option to rename those friends. Like, it's just tiny little things like that are just not in completely polished at this point. But the actual core gameplay is feels very ready, just like JR said. It's almost ready to go.
And to me, I would think that kind of sounds to me like, that's just the little frills here and there. Like, they know they have to do it, but right now they want to make sure that the communication is stable and everything is solid and linked together properly. And then after that, they can put the bows and sparkles on it like that, Huh. Very cool, man. Now... I'm sorry, Liam. Did you say anything? We had a heck of a pre-show, so I'm trying to remember what was said on the air and what was said off the air. Do you have much of a background in obviously TCGs or anything like that?
Oh, you know what? I didn't talk about my background in TCGs, and that is definitely something I've dabbled in a lot over the years. I haven't really done so much of the paper versions. I played like Magic the Gathering, the digital version of that. I played like games like Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day and stuff. Just kind of messed around on those kind of ones. But yeah, Magic the Gathering is definitely something that I played quite a bit. I mean, I got almost all the achievements on the Steam version.
Wow.
And I also had it on my Xbox because I've always wanted this experience where you can play a trading card game, but you don't have to go to a comic book store in order to do that. You can just fire it up on your computer and start playing. And that's kind of where a lot of my experiences has been, is the Jewels of the Planeswalkers, Magic the Gathering. And I recommend it to anyone, if they haven't played much. It's fairly easy to get into, and it has fairly good tutorials. But, of course, Hearthstone is going to be far better than that.
Really? You think so? Because, okay, I just picked up the Magic the Gathering. And for those of you who are listening, if you're kind of wanting to see what a TCG is going to be about on your tablet, because that's what I'm personally really excited for, is Hearthstone on my tablet. The Magic the Gathering they just released Duels of the Planeswalkers for Android and iOS. Now, on Android, I don't know about iOS. On Android, it's called Magic 2014. So that's how you'll find it. If you do Magic the Gathering search, you're not going to find it.
But that's the newest one.
Yeah, I downloaded it, and you can play for a little while for free. But the overall game itself is $10, and if you're wanting to get into a TCG, it's a very polished game. It looks great. It taught me a lot about how to play a TCG, so that way when I step into Hearthstone, I'm not going to be at a total loss. But let me ask you this, guys. You guys played. Did you go through a tutorial mode or anything like that?
There is a tutorial mode, although I didn't feel that it was going to be very necessary, and I don't think it's going to be necessary for many of the players. It's going to be typically those that really have no clue is what the tutorial mode I think is really going to be required for. Obviously, we're probably going to want to play the tutorial mode to unlock certain things and get certain achievements and whatnot. But I will say this on the accessibility of Hearthstone, it's not going to be as hard to get into as Magic the Gathering. I've heard a lot of stuff from a lot of other people that never really even played trading card games, and they can just get right into Hearthstone, because one of the core design philosophies that the devs were telling us about is that they want this game to be accessible to people that wouldn't typically play trading card games.
Right.
So it's not meant to be this game that, okay, you're going to have to do the tutorial before you can even get started. You'll be able to jump right in. There's mechanics, and there's certain little things that are very common and very typical of trading card games, but at the same time it doesn't have this the deck building aspect isn't quite as difficult. It's simpler. You have your resources are they're handled on the side. You don't have to play a mana each turn like you would in Magic the Gathering.
Sure.
And it's definitely more lighthearted in general. So
Okay.
This is definitely going to be a game that I can get my mother to play, and I'm pretty sure my mother's going to try it out. So
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. and like one of the things I noticed too is afterwards we got to go to Dave & Buster's, and the Diablo fan sites were there, and all the Diablo teams and the WoW teams both got to play Hearthstone. So there's a lot of people there that have never played CCGs, didn't know too much about Hearthstone going in, and every single one of them said that they were able to jump right in, even without a tutorial mode. And keep in mind, there is a tutorial mode. You're going to be able to play the mage deck to start off with, and then unlock other decks from there.
Okay.
So it'll have that, ease of use to start off with, to kind of teach you about the game. And even a lot of the tutorial screens have even kind of been data mined in the last week. So it looks like they're going to have a pretty in-depth way of showing people how to play to make it even easier. But even without the tutorial, it's very easy to jump into.
Okay. So one of the things that I did notice, and it's only because I picked up the Magic the Gathering game on my tablet, is the way that they have like your mana. You know, like for Magic the Gathering, you have your like your land cards that you have to play, which then builds up the ability to play other cards. You know, is it the same type of feel in Hearthstone, or how does that work? You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, one thing that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, one thing that definitely about the resource management in the game is that it isn't. I mean, it's not as much of an issue as it would be on like a typical trading card game, because this is automatic. You gain 1 per turn, and what happens is there's this like curve of mana gain that's consistent through every single game you play. Once you get towards the end of that, you can play way more cards. And there's definitely this curve that you'll notice in every single match you ever play, and then you're not going to get what's known as landlocked, which is something of an issue for a lot of typical trading card games where you have to play a land.
Sure.
This issue is completely avoided by having that resource just constantly increase per turn, and it's really nice. It's really smooth, and you can focus on these little strategies, and that's the thing. There is this depth. But the depth is in different areas of the game. So
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. Like, I've been playing Magic since 1995, and I've played it very competitively in the past. In fact, I almost even went to the U.S. National Tournament one year. I was like 1 turn away from qualifying for it. And I have lost so many games in Magic the Gathering because I didn't have the lands that I needed to start off with. I might have had 2 in my hand to start off with, and I didn't draw another one, the entire game, and my opponent easily beats me. You're not going to get that with Hearthstone because you're going to get a mana every turn, and then in later turns you're not going to have to worry about keep drawing lands that aren't going to do anything. Instead, you're going to draw cards that are going to be able to help you with the game. So it makes the game a lot more faster paced as well, which I really enjoy, because some Magic games can last, up to 50 minutes.
Wow.
I don't see that happening too often with Hearthstone. In fact, most of the games I played were 15, if that.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something that was mentioned in chat, is that from the outset, the game looks like it's directed at younger players. And I think a lot of that sentiment comes from this idea that the game doesn't really have that depth. But you'll be really surprised that when you actually play the game, it does have a lot of depth. And I mean, it's going to appeal to younger audience. By all means, it's going to appeal to older audience also. It's going to be this game that's accessible by as many different people as possible. But it is still going to have that depth, should you want that. I mean, you've got things like taunt cards, like minions that have taunt, they have to be attacked. It can really shake up strategies, and there's lots of really interesting like different quirks that certain cards have that really keep things interesting in a match, and a lot of people that are very new to the game that tried it out were saying that they were putting together these really cool like chain combos of playing cards that they would have never thought of otherwise, but that's just because the game really it reels you in, then it has you playing these in-depth strategies that you were like, what the heck, where did that come from? Like, all of a sudden I'm now a card game player. So
wow.
Yeah, and that's something else, is the game, even though it's very easy to pick up, there is a lot of strategy involved, and what I like about it is it really rewards players that understand the strategy, and it rewards players that have the skill to play. They're going to do better. It doesn't necessarily reward players on who has the best cards, like Magic the Gathering can tend to do.
Okay.
So their cards are all the cards seem pretty powerful. Like, I didn't really see any cards that just made me go, why would I ever use this card in a deck ever?
Sure.
In fact, most of the time I had a tough time deciding what card I would use over another card. And so that was kind of interesting and a lot different than what I'm used to with Magic.
Okay. Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of, I'm sure this probably didn't get brought up, but Sister Mary J is asking about it, and Chappie in chat room also asked, did they hint on a plan to release an ink and paper version of the Hearthstone in the future at all? Now, I'm sure they didn't talk at all about it, but do you guys think that could be a viable option?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I mean the way the game's built, it's built around this idea that the game enforces the rules, unlike with your traditional paper card game. You as the players have to essentially enforce the rules. Now, with this being digital, it has so much going for it in this aspect that it's going to enforce the rules. And it's going to have patches, it's going to have updates. And they did say they wanted to be very, they don't want to ban cards, they'd make adjustments only if needed. Okay. But the fact that the digital nature of this game will enforce the rules, that's actually definitely a huge advantage in my mind.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, and it allows them to add things that you may not get away with on the physical card games. Just various rules that you might be able to do that are tough for a player to keep track of, because the computer keeps track of that for you. For example, the way that the health system works, if you attack a creature or minion, it takes away their health. So if you were playing the physical card game of that, you would have to sit there and keep track of every single minion's health at that point using counters or anything like that.
I see.
And it would just be if it would be a physical game, it'd be very cumbersome.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the interview itself. Now, who did you guys sit down and talk to at Blizzard as far as the developers go?
It was all three lead designers for Hearthstone: Jason Chase, Ben Brode, and for the life of me, I can't remember the third guy's name. Do you remember?
Don't even ask me. Yeah, I'm terrible with names.
Okay.
I'm just putting that out there.
Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to throw you under the bus like that. And it happens.
I just refer to them as the Hearthstone devs.
Right, yeah. I know, right? I know.
And the voice of God, known as Ben Brode.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. So was there anything that came out of that interview that kind of really took, I mean, I've listened to the recording of the interview and everything. Is there anything that you guys took out of that, like, wow, I did not know that was what you had planned. I did not know that this was happening this way or anything like that?
Okay, now I didn't know really what to expect from the devs, but one thing that immediately struck me was that they are so open to suggestions. This idea that this game, they want to really provide what the community wants. They don't want a game that they call the shots. It's their decision. It's more built around the idea that if you guys want it, we will do what we can to make it happen. Like if we want esports, they'll make it esports viable. If we want raid decks, then we may see that down the line. So it's definitely, they're really, really open. They're extremely friendly people. I mean, in general, they are very talented at what they do. I mean, each of them have fill multiple roles. Ben Brode does basically everything besides his godly voice. I mean,
right.
So I mean, it's really, that was one thing that really caught my attention. I'm not sure about you, JR, but
oh no, that is exactly what I was going to say, word for word, in those exact words. No, seriously though, they came in asking us for our opinions and everything, and then they said. And then we were asking, well, what about this? What about if you guys did this? And they're like, well, that's on our board, and right now, our focus is to release the game, and then after that, we want to know what the community wants. Mm-hmm. And if the community wants that, then we're going to try to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit Blizzard's philosophy as a whole, but since this is a very small team, that they can focus more on that kind of stuff, because I think there's only 12 developers on this team. So the fact that they have that small team and that they're very focused on what the community wants, I think we'll see things turn around a lot faster than what you would see with a normal epic Blizzard game like Diablo or Warcraft. Okay. And that was the very first thing that kind of took me by surprise, because it's not, I mean, Blizzard's always open for community feedback, but this was on a scale above that.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that I also took away from listening to the interview, is the fact that they have a lot of things, like planned and ideas that they could have, but they want to find out what the community wants to do first. What kind of feedback do we get? And from what I gathered, they want to make this launch as epic as possible, and have you, they're not, I don't think they're going to make any major changes. And I don't know. This is totally just me thinking out loud. I don't think they're going to make any major changes to the game for at least a year and a half. Maybe 2 years. I mean, that's
I give it a year.
Really, you think so? It sounds to me like that's how much they are concentrating on having the polished product initially, that they can take in everybody's responses and everybody's opinions, and then not have to worry about for a long time trying to add to it. Now, of course, right off the bat, they're going to have to, fix some things here and there and patch it a little bit or whatever for unforeseen circumstances. It happens with every game, it's just the way of it. But that was, if nothing else, the biggest thing that I took from listening to that interview is that they are wanting to make your first few months of Hearthstone just freaking awesome.
Yeah, and it could be something that I guess it would depend on how they're going to do their patches, which maybe they haven't even talked about yet. Like maybe feature A, like one of the main features that we all requested was some kind of observer mode for esports, and I could see that totally getting added after like 3 months or 6 months, and it might just be a patch where it's just that added.
Sure.
It may not be it depends if they're going to do a huge overreaching patch like what they do with World of Warcraft, or if they're just going to add features here and there, on like a monthly or bi-monthly cycle or something.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that kind of tags into Nikatog in the chat room said from the reactions that he's read so far, seems an official competitive scene could have a lot of movement behind it. But what were your impressions from speaking with the team, ladders, tournament support, etc.?
Okay, one thing that I definitely noticed is we did meet at Dave & Buster's at the end of the day, and Ben Brode and I can't remember the other guy's name, but we sat there and we discussed, no joke, for probably hour and a half, just this idea of an observer mode. I mean, it was definitely something that we were discussing, that they were discussing, and they wanted our input on, and just how to implement an observer mode. Do we want it to show both hands face up? Do we want it to show, one player's hands face down, the other player's face up? And there's a lot of consideration that goes into that, and they want to make all these considerations, but at the same time, the fact that they're talking about it and the fact that they want feedback on it, is huge. That's really shows that there is very possible that we're going to get this observer mode we want. And I've talked to several people who, there's a bunch of guys who use actually a TeamSpeak server that's hosted by HearthstonePlayers.com, and they are doing tournaments and they're playing matches using Cockatrice, and there's pushing maybe 40 or more people in that. So there's definitely going to be, if anything, that group of competitive players right off the bat that are going to be making player-made tournaments. So, there's definitely a lot of weight behind this competitive scene, and it's going to be a competitive community for sure. So,
Sure.
And then other people are obviously going to join in on that, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I'm very ecstatic to see what they're going to, because they want to. It's just a matter of whether or not, They want to have everything come to. They want to. They want to. So, but this is something that's awesome. J-Man in the chat room asked this, and I want to touch on this because I already know a portion of the answer here. Do you think that there will be expansions for Hearthstone, like new card sets for real life TCGs? Now, from what I heard on the interview, it kind of blended into. What are they going to do when cards, are you going to come out with more powerful cards? Like with every WoW expansion, you have eye level increases and stuff like that. And so, what was, and they didn't have a whole bunch of positive stuff to say about coming out with newer, stronger cards or anything like that.
Yep. That was something that was definitely, and that was actually one of the questions I was very concerned about, is how the progression of this game is going to work. Are they going to just keep releasing more and more powerful cards? And they were like, no way, we don't want to do that. And that was, to me, that was something really awesome, because it gets to a point in a lot of paper trading card games where you can't play the cards that were originally released with the game. They're just not powerful enough. They're either banned, they're restricted, and they're pushing this like content cycle. And the one thing about the devs when we discussed this was that they don't care about pushing some kind of content cycle. They're going to bring out more content, but I got the idea that it's definitely going to be something more aesthetic than anything, something that's going to make you look cooler, but not going to make you more powerful. You're not going to have to purchase, 20 booster packs when they bring out this whole new set of cards. It'll be something that will be optional, that you maybe will have different strategies you can play with and whatnot. And that's kind of the idea I get from the way they want to progress things. So.
Awesome. Yep.
And I think it was also kind of in the back of their minds as they're not really sure what they're going to do yet because, like we said earlier, they're focused on releasing the game right now. And then down the road, if they find out they have to release, an expansion to make the game, broader or more, fun or whatever, then they'll work on that.
Yeah, and I think that, truthfully, they're going to this is the beautiful thing, is like they don't have to change the game. It seems like in World of Warcraft, they're always changing the game, between your talent systems and your class abilities and, the new skills that you get as you level up and stuff like that. Like, that's always game-changing, and there's always balancing and nerfing and this and that or whatever. So, but with Hearthstone, unless they come out with new cards, there's not going to be any of that, which is beautiful because they're not going to have to change the game itself or even really the way it's played. They can add... I see them adding crazy new features that nobody's even thought of, that, that's like a whole different change of the game, but they have afforded themselves the luxury of keeping the gameplay the same.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely joked about the idea of adding vanity pets to the game that, and who knows, never say never. It could happen, so.
Yeah, weirder things have happened. One of the other things that I want to touch on real quick is, like I mentioned before, I'm just pumped about the iOS and having it on my tablet. I mean, when I play, I'm sorry, I don't know, I may not even have it installed on my computer when it comes out. It's going to be straight to my tablet, and that's because, it's going to be, I can sit anywhere and play this, that I have a Wi-Fi connection, and I love that idea. And so what do we know? What did they tell you guys about the iOS beta? How is that all going to work? Do you guys recall?
Well, they're not going to have an iOS beta because of the way that the App Store works. Basically, what's going to happen is they'll have the PC Mac beta, and then when the game releases, shortly after, they'll have an iPad release. So, unfortunately, the iPad version won't be in beta just because, of the way that the mobile system works. It's different than a PC where you can kind of give out certain keys to people and have it tied to your account, whereas the mobile version, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So there won't be a beta. What they did say, they did say what they were supporting, though, that they were going to support the iPad 2 and up, which includes the iPad mini.
Yes.
So if you have the original iPad, you're probably going to be out of luck.
Yeah. But one of the other things that they did brag about was the fact that at PAX East, when they made the announcement, people were playing it on iPads. Yeah. And we
actually got to try it on the iPad too, which was...
Did you?
And it was on an iPad mini, so that definitely clarified to me that this game will work on that smaller device. That was something I was a little bit, not too sure about, how well it's going to work on a smaller screen, and it works just fine. That it's so smooth the way it works on the iPad version. It was great, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was playing the iPad version. I'm like, you guys just release this now. Yeah. I'll buy an iPad right now and play it.
I'll take 2 of them. I will take 2 of them. So, cool. Well, you know what? I think, is there anything else, guys, that you guys wanted to talk about? Anything we didn't bring up or anything like that?
I think we covered a good chunk of it. There's nothing that really comes to mind. Like there's a lot of little details, and if people have any questions, whatever, they can tweet at me at BlizzPro, and I can answer. If you have anything.
Sure.
And same here. I mean, if anyone wants to tweet at me, by all means, Xdega 121. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. So,
Angry Orc.
Maybe even write an article about it. Who knows?
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Angry Orc wants to know what the Blizz cafeteria is like.
We actually didn't get to eat it there, so.
Oh man.
They brought food to us in a conference room. But that was fun. Actually, I want to go ahead and answer a quick question that was just brought up in the chat room because we were talking about mobile devices, and they're asking about what about Android or Windows Phone, and I think the I think they want to bring it out to Android. I think they want to perfect it first for the iPad, and once they get that perfected, because they got to do a lot of back end stuff to make sure that it works correctly with Battle.net. And I think once they do that, they'll start looking into ways to port it to other devices, because they want to publish it to as many devices as they can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of they need to get that infrastructure first.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I would want it on my phone, but I'm not 100% on that. I'd have to see what it looks like. It just seems
I don't think it'll be on a phone. I think it'll be tablet.
No, I really don't see it on a phone.
Yeah, me
it's
neither.
just not that kind of.
But when
unless you've got like the Galaxy Note huge phone like I do.
Oh, that's huge. But yeah, not everyone has one that big. So. Now,
nope, they don't.
Well, I'll be anxious to see where this comes out, and Liam, this is not the last time we are going to be talking with you, man. Liam, the interview that I heard, Liam is just a fountain of knowledge, guys. If you are not going to his website, you're looking forward to Hearthstone, this is something you need to have bookmarked. So, you know what, everybody, that's going to bring this episode of Twizzcast to a close. I know it was on the shorter side, but I promise that you're not going to want to miss next week's episode. And Chappie in the chat room posed a good question, and here's an answer for you, my friend. Next week's episode, we are going to have the following Diablo 3 developers on the show to talk about all things Diablo. We're going to have Josh Mascara, the game director, Jason Bender, the lead console developer. He handles your Xbox and PlayStation Diablo experience. Wyatt Chang, who is the senior technical game designer, and Travis Day, who is also a game designer. So be sure if you guys have any questions for them, you send them to podcast@blizzpro.com or hop in the chat room, and we will be fielding questions from there. So, Liam, one more time, man, how can people find you? How can people talk to you and see what's going on?
Okay, well, for quick updates, you can get hold of me on Twitter. You can tweet at me if you want, at xdega121. And as far as article, if you want something to read, something to kill some time during your lunch break or in the morning or whatever, go to www.hearthstoneplayers.com. And we're trying to push out articles. Obviously, we don't have a huge flow of articles at this point, but got some good articles lined up for the next few days and early into next week. We're also recruiting writers, so if you love writing and you are passionate about Hearthstone, by all means, we're definitely looking to increase our roster. So, and that's about that.
There you go. Very good, man. Dude, well, again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on the show, man. Really appreciate it. And I think if you're okay with it, maybe throughout the beta release and after the actual launch or something, we may have you back on the show again if you're good with that. So,
yep.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, from the crew here at Twizzcast and BlizzPro, we encourage you to game safe, love one another, and please, everyone within the sound of my voice, take care. You've been listening to Twizzcast, the official podcast of BlizzPro.com. You can follow us all on Twitter at Twizzcast, at TwizTE, at TankThatReb, and at Willie_Foss. The show notes and articles that we discuss can be found at BlizzPro.com. And if you'd like to drop us a line, send the email to podcast@BlizzPro.com. Thanks again, and we will catch you next week. And that's that. That is that.
All right.
So,
yay!
We are still live here. Chat room, thank you very much, guys, for your patience. Thank you for hanging out. Really appreciate all of it. Again, next week is going to be huge. JR can back me up on that.
Yeah, it's going to be like an hour-long interview, if not more, and it's going to be epic in nature.
Yep, absolutely. So, cool. All right, guys. Well, for those of you who are in the U.S., have a wonderful 4th of July and be safe out there. And, tell your friends. Hopefully we will catch you guys next week with some developer action. So, see ya.